Hi, I'm Rob and this is Gems of War. In this video I'm going to show you how you can defend yourself against the might of Webspinner. She comes along sometimes and absolutely batters you into oblivion with skull damage, and sometimes in record time. And yes, this is a girl, so not only is it bad enough getting embarrassed losing the game in record time sometimes, but being beaten up by a girl for many people was even worse. So let's see how we can defend ourselves against this mighty being. Okay, this is a typical kind of team you will find a web spinner in. Web spinner up top because it deals a triple skull damage when you have that third trait. And the thing is, you don't need to be poisoned or webbed first. Basically, all those things happen at once. When the AI takes a skull and you get hit by a web spinner, you instantaneously get poisoned and webbed before the skull hits. So everything happens at once. So you're going to get that skull damage, triple skull damage instantly every time you get a skull, which is absolutely devastating. Furthermore, this is the kind of team you're normally lined up against. Some people try and defend against a web spinner by being in, say, archer class, where the first troop will be entangled at the start of the battle. You think, okay, that's going to work, but in this kind of team it won't, because Moon Rabbit, even though it doesn't say cleanse, remember Blessed is basically a cleanse at the same time, because Blessed troops are cleansed instantly, and this blesses the first ally, which is the web spinner. So, and then you get Fist of Zorn, who converts all the yellow gems to skulls. So if they get a lucky alignment on that, which you can't avoid or break up in any way, shape or form, you're going to start losing troops all over the place. And then Doomed Axe converts purple to Doom Skulls, and it's just literally just hell on earth on the carnage this thing can create. So how do we defend ourselves against this? Well, basically there are three different ways. We spoke about entangling the AI, but that doesn't always work because of the cleanse. The next best way is basically to be impervious. Now, if we look at impervious troops, I'll go to actually show all, and I'll put in impervious. Impervious troop cannot get poisoned or webbed, so that's immediately going to make that web spinner damage normal damage. So that's a good thing on its own, but on Guild Wars days, for example, you still want to make it a viable team. So on a blue day, on an impervious troop, if you happen to be up against a web spinner type team, then there are a few options. Behemoth is not too bad. Doesn't have any skull reduction, but it does have plus 10 life on 4 or 5 gem matches, which can help it survive. This is one of the weaker days, to be honest. If you have the plague, that's not too bad. Deal double skull damage versus diseased enemies, and if you get to cast it first, then they will be diseased, so you can actually fire that skull damage back at them. And if you have Leonis Tower, that is a really good one. That's not impervious, that's even better, that's invulnerable. And that has 50% skull reduction at the same time, and I'll show that in a little bit because it's not in the impervious list. But Leonis Tower is very good for blue day. On a green day, then a few good options here actually. Gloomleaf is fairly decent. Reflects 50% of skull damage, so again immune to all those effects anyway, but you're still going to ping back 50% of that damage which the web spinner or the team tries to cause you. And if you can cast first, you're going to grab a load of armor off of them in the first place. There are more choices though, and actually a use for the super elusive, damn if I'm ever going to get it, Horde Mimic. Now, this is actually quite useful in a web spinner type situation because it's impervious, so it's not going to get poisoned or webbed, and reduces damage from the skulls by 25%. So it's an actual use for this thing maybe, which is kind of a miracle. The other one that's really good on a green day is Tannenbaum. Impervious. Reduce damage from skulls by 33%, so really good, and deal triple skull damage versus entangled enemies. And the spell is to pull something to the front. So on a green day, or indeed a yellow day, this is a really good defense against a web spinner because you're not affected by that triple damage. You reduce the damage you get anyway by a third, and you can actually turn the tables on them entirely regarding the skull damage by entangling someone, pulling them to the front, and doing triple skull damage on them. So that is a really satisfying defense to use against that kind of thing. On a red day, the choices are Gloomleaf again. Gloomleaf is a same as before, obviously. Carnex is a semi-decent option because reduces damage from skulls by 25%, which is not a bad thing. Pride it's technically can be helpful. Explode a skull at the start of battle is kind of handy. If there's a lineup there which just happens to be something you couldn't avoid, that can help you out, but it can also actually explode a skull which wasn't dangerous and then drop another one down, which might be, so I wouldn't really count that one. And the other one is Trihorn. Very good as well. Deal a double skull damage versus stunned enemies if you can stun them first, but reduces damage from skulls by 20% anyway, and obviously is in the impervious list. So that is definitely a very good one to go with at the same time on a red day. Next one we got is the yellow. This is obviously based on a Guild Wars type scenario. On PvP, obviously any of these impervious troops will do the trick. Could use good old Horde Mimic again. Actually useful on Yellow Day. That would be very handy. And Tannenbaum again is the options. Tannenbaum is definitely the way to go with this, I would have thought. Lots of benefits to that. And Leonis Tower is obviously a yellow one as well, so very handy. Purple is probably the worst day for it. It's like there's not anything brilliant that's impervious and has other benefits at the same time. Probably Karnek's the best one. Impervious as well as reducing damage from skulls by 25% is a pretty decent way to go. And you've got Pride as well, but yeah, it's not great. And on Brown Day there are again several options. You have a Mechanome. Reduce damage from skulls by 25%. So again, can't say it enough. You're not getting that triple damage, and you're actually reducing the amount of damage that Webspinner normally does, which is super, super handy. Trihorn is in the brown list as well, so that is really, really good as well. Reducing damage from skulls by 20%, and if you can get a stun in there somewhere, dealing double damage back to them, which is going to be painful to them because it completely spoils the way their team was meant to work. And indeed, if I get rid of that and put in Invulnerable, Leonis Tower is a really good one to have on blue, brown or yellow because it is invulnerable, which is basically an enhanced impervious, and reduce damage from skulls by 50%. So that actually makes a mockery of the whole Webspinner thing if you have that troop there. So that's how to do it while using impervious or invulnerable. But if they don't have a cleanse in the team, then you can actually do it a different way as well. You could still go with impervious troop up top, but you could also then have further insurance by picking a class, for example, which starts with the enemy entangled. Archer is good at this. Anything that's got root trap in it is going to entangle the first enemy, and if they don't have a cleanse or a bless on the first enemy, that is really important to point out, then that is a really good way of countering that. And troops that entangle on a hit as well, like Forest Troll, I think it is. Look at Forest Troll. I did do a list on a different video of all the troops that do entangle when they hit with skull damage, so that would be a good reference for this as well. Inflict entangle when doing skull damage, so all you got to do is get the first hit in with that and you're going to entangle that first troop as well, which is really cool. Again, same thing here, you can actually get rid of that. You can put in entangle if you like in the search bar and bring up all the troops that do entangle. And like I say, I did do a list in a different video on the troops that actually entangle on skull damage. So the last way to actually avoid Webspinner, and it's only a bit of a random one, this one, but if those two fail and it happens to be on a day where you can use this particular colour. Where's he gone? A lot of D's. You can use good old Dust Devil on a yellow or brown team, and starts with full mana and deals 5 damage to all enemies, which is not that much, but it knocks the first enemy to the last position. So this is a usually quite an early troop in the game, and you can do that, and that is actually quite a handy way of doing it as well, because it literally takes that triple skull damage away. But my favourite method is definitely to go with the impervious route. So let's see how it looks and performs in a game. Right, now up against exactly the same team. It's got a typical kind of team here. There's nothing particularly special about this team. I just made it all red, as it was, we were talking about Guild Wars, possible teams and stuff. So I just went for the Mirage Queen for a 50% start in mana. Tiamat, because I just don't use it very much, but it does damage to wall, which is pretty handy. And the Vinia for the cleanse and the life giving. And Gloomleaf, because that's our impervious troop up top, which is going to reflect skull damage and steel attack and armor. At the same time, in Elementalist class, I went for the Maze Banner, which is the +2 green, +2 red, -1 purple. Because anytime you don't use purple but do use red or green, Maze Banner is absolutely superb. So I'll show the reduced effect of the Web Spinner in this kind of team. Not going to look at their conversions too much. I actually want them to get some hits in. So there you go, we've got one hit there. Ordinarily that would probably wipe us out in a single hit, but it didn't do anything. It done completely standard skull damage, which is much more acceptable than the normal mega hits that you get off of web spinners. And now I'll give him another hit. I'll steal some armor first, and it's still completely okay. Web spinner is history, and if we can go about our team like normal now, we can use Mirage Queen to do some damage. It's not a bad little team actually. This almost appeared by accident when I was just playing around with creating a team that would work against a web spinner team. As it happens, it's not actually too bad. Should we do the cleanse and armor boost, or should we steal even more? Let's steal even more for a laugh. Yeah, let's get Tiamat involved, just to take out the hero. Every time they give skull damage, we're actually doing more damage. We're doing damage to them back as well with Gloomleaf. Really good troop. Cast that just because really you don't actually need to. And let's get charged up and ready to mop up if we even need to. What should we take? Go for red. Looking for any single skull hit now. Mirage Queen will be ready next go. Is there a green there somewhere? Ah, we've got a normal one, that will do. Okay, so that's using that team. Now just briefly I'll show the effect of how even more ineffective Web Spinner can be when you have a troop up the top that is both impervious or invulnerable and has some reduction from skulls at the same time. Leonis Tower is probably the best one at this, reducing damage from skulls by 50%. So not only are we just completely negating that triple damage, but we're halving the standard damage at the same time. This is a basic blue team with Gob Truffle, a Rope Dart and Mirage Queen in Elementalist class. Simply really to show that effect of how much more damage we're going to get reduced by fighting Web Spinner this way. Remember, not ordinarily, like a single hit from Web Spinner a lot of times wipes out opponents really quite easily sometimes. We'll give them that skull hit and a 4 match just to give them a fighting chance. In fact, I want red, so I'll give them the skull hit on the other side. I'll leave that one there for them. I'll give them a chance. I'm kind. There you go, 30. 30 life, that was it. Normally it's triple damage and instant death. Makes a mockery of the good old Web Spinner. You can take a look out for green to skulls at the same time. In fact, I'll even help set them up a little bit. Or will I? Now they're entangled as well in Elementalist class. Another good way of ensuring that the enemy doesn't get hardly any chance of doing any damage with that thing at all. We can stick a barrier on if we want now with Leonis Tower. Just spam with Gob Truffle. Do another Skull Bash. Basically, it's an absolute walk in the park, and quite often the whole team is set up around the basis that they're relying on Webspinner to work. And that's why once you control something like that yourself, it becomes a mockery basically, and an absolute easy game. Let's just finish them off. What should we get? What should we get? What should we get? Simple gobtrottle ending, and never in any danger in any way, shape or form at any point ever. So there it is. That's how you defend against Webspinner. You can do it by impervious or invulnerable troops up the top is a really good way. You can entangle that thing at the start of the battle if they haven't got a cleanse, which is going to kick in straight away, or you can shift it to the bottom with Dust Devil on a yellow or brown team. So there it is. If you found the video useful or helpful, it'd be cool if you hit that like and subscribe button. And thanks for watching. Catch you again next time. Bye for now.